What is going on, everybody? The Who Dat Nation. It is the one and only Who Dat Davis here for you. And as always, if you don't know, you will know that over here we bleed black and gold until we are dead and cold. Thank you guys very, very much for joining me for this edition of the Black and Gold Breakdown Podcast as we talk New Orleans Saints winning over the Atlanta Falcons, a score of 30-20. But they just fall short. It is a bittersweet victory as the New Orleans Saints, thanks to the 49ers with a game-sealing interception in overtime over the Los Angeles Rams. The Saints season is officially over. We're going to be talking about all that and more, and tomorrow with final thoughts. But before we get into all that, I want to first personally thank each and every single one of you for being a continued supporter and continued watcher of my platform. It has been an absolute blessing and an absolute privilege to have this opportunity to just expand my horizons as a podcaster, to see where this road takes me. I've landed a couple opportunities already. For those, I will be talking about that more in depth tomorrow and going forward on my community tab plus other social media. But speaking of social media, what does that mean for the rest of my social media going forward into this offseason? It means, if you guys weren't here last week, I said that Monday will be the last live streaming podcast that I do, and I meant it. On account of my grandmother having an up and down type of experience with her overall health, I want to focus more on making sure she's okay. On top of the fact, but this actually kind of helps in a way because the Saints don't have any more to do right now with the rest of this year until after the Super Bowl. So you will see live content, kind of dilute itself going forward. You will see me more posting stuff on my community tab, if not making some videos here and there. You will see me posting on Facebook. You will see me posting on Instagram. You will still see me posting on Twitter. And the news regarding my League of Justice, contributing a website where law impacts sports. I will have more info on that for you guys tomorrow. So make sure you check out the community tab regarding League of Justice. And guys, please go support League of Justice. If you guys are into the law side of things and how law impacts sports, whether it be COVID, whether it be off-field arrests, whether it be unsportsmanlike conduct, whatever the case may be, that is where you will see me writing articles. I've gotten into article writing thanks to Amy Dash, the legal analyst who gave me this opportunity, and I have been taking full advantage of it. I had to pull back for a little bit on account of my grandmother's health, but it is still an absolute blessing to be in an opportunity to expand my horizons, and that opportunity has landed me something else. You will hear more about that tomorrow as we go into the final thoughts for the Saints season. But thank you guys. Like, I wouldn't be where I am today if not for y'all. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about this win over the Atlanta Falcons. First and foremost, congratulations to the New Orleans Saints closing out the season strong, where throughout all the adversity, throughout all the issues they have had, from Hurricane Ida displacing them from their home for over a month, to having their home, quote unquote, home opener in Jacksonville, to COVID-19 running rampant the week later, where they lost to Carolina on the road, to a slew of injuries to the offensive line, to Ron Armstead, Eric McCoy for a little bit, Andrews Pete going down for the year, and Ryan Ramczyk even. Cesar Ruiz is the only starting offensive lineman that's played 100% of snaps, and that's not much to speak about. That's not really good, or not much of good, when you're considering how poorly he's played this year overall. Jameis Winston going down to a torn ACL and an NCL sprain. It was hard. It was hard just watching that injury on Halloween night. But Jameis Winston's already up and walking about, kind of semi-casually. He has been with the Saints. From what I've understood, he's been in Zoom calls. He was actually with the Saints on the sideline for this last game of the regular season for the Saints. He was out there. Jameis Winston is actually on pace to be ready for training camp next season. Training camp, can you believe that? Jameis Winston is like Wolverine-esque with how quickly he's recovering. I remember a time where ACL injuries were career threatening or career ending even. and now people are just getting back from it in record time, if not sooner. It is absolutely it's a miracle, nothing short of. So Jameis Winston, prayers to you, and hope you continue on your steadfast recovery. And I hope to see you in a black and gold uniform next year, because we have unfinished business. Now, everybody that wants Jameis Winston back, I wholeheartedly agree, because look, Jameis Winston was 5-2 as a starter with this less than ideal supporting cast around him. Marquez Callaway, Deontay Harris, Traquan Smith, who actually went off tonight, or had an above average night, I would say. So we'll get into that in a little bit about Traquan and what that means for him going into the offseason. We'll see. We'll see. But continue on with Jameis. He showed that he can not be turnover prone, right? Everybody was harping about the 10, like the 30 for 30 touchdowns and interceptions in 2019. He came in, he was 14 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions, 4 total turnovers, and one with the one being a lost fumble. Jameis Winston was everything the Saints could hope for, with a little bit of extra, because he was mobile, manipulating the pocket, great pocket awareness. Now that wasn't say he was picture perfect, right? He still had issues with the short throws, the intermediate throws. His deep balls are immaculate. His deep balls are one of the best in the league today. Anybody who tries to tell you otherwise is kidding themselves. What Jameis Winston did was put this team in the best positions to succeed. And you really couldn't ask for anything more. So that's why when I saw that he went down to an injury in the Halloween game, I was pretty much just like this. Look, say what you want, but I am all for Jameis Winston coming back, and I hope he does come back. Now, what does that mean for Traquan Smith? Let's talk about Traquan Smith real quick. Traquan went for his, I believe, his best game of the season today, with 7 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. 7 for 76 in the tub. Still no better overall than what Marquez Callaway has done this season. But to end your season on a note like that, I'll give props to Traquan. All right, he came through for the Saints tonight in this game with those 7 catches for 76 yards and that touchdown, that tough touchdown reception in the red zone for Trevor Siemian. All right, I'll give him his credit. But what does that mean for Traquan? What do I see happening to Traquan going forward? Well, I'll say this. Traquan Smith, as good of a game that he's had tonight, I don't think he's earned a new contract or a new 1-year deal with the Saints for next year. I don't think he's earned it. Traquan Smith was taken in the 3rd round of the 2018 NFL draft, and he got outplayed by Marquez Callaway this year. And he's only in the 2nd year. He got outplayed. I believe Marquez Callaway was, I think, just short or just a little over 700 yards. I had to make sure. I think it's just a little under with 698. I don't think he had one reception so far one reception tonight. But to say that Traquan Smith deserves a 1-year deal going forward into the next year, absolutely not. Traquan Smith is injury riddled. He is unreliable. The best ability is availability, and I don't think you're going to franchise tag him, because that franchise tag is going to be, I would say, fairly expensive. So we'll just have to see what happens there. But I believe Traquan set himself up to have an opportunity somewhere else in the league, like Trey Hendrickson did. I don't know where that's going to be. I don't know who's going to pick him up, but I think Traquan played himself out of New Orleans, and the potential is there. He has really strong hands. He's a great run blocker. He just has to put it all together. Injured every single season. He is yet to put over, I would say, close to 500 I think tonight's game might have put them just a little under, if not a little over. But it's been a disappointing, if not outright painful experience watching Traquan Smith on the field for New Orleans. And I want to see him do well. I do. I never wish ill will on anybody, especially since I couldn't make it into the league. But for the sake of this team, they need to move in an opposite direction. They need to get a new number 2 receiver in the draft this year. There are plenty to choose from who have that run blocking ability that Traquan does, with better separation, with a cleaner history of non-injuries, right? That can stay on the field, like a Garrett Wilson or a Chris Olave or a David Bell, my personal choice, David Bell, Treylon Burks. You got names and bunches for the Saints to look at going forward into the NFL draft. They need to prioritize that. I would make that first round pick because currently the Saints are unofficially, as far as I'm aware, unofficially number 17 in the NFL draft this year. So I think that's a Chris Olave or a David Bell type of thing. I would go for one of them. I would definitely make a move for one of them, or a Jahan Dotson for that matter. Someone needs to come off the board as a wide receiver, but we all know how the Saints go. We all know how they do. They're not gonna choose a player that we personally want. They're gonna go based off their board, which I believe is going to be an offensive lineman or maybe even the tackle in the first round, like always, draft in the trenches, because it's the Saints. Of course they will. It is what it is. Trevor Siemian had a pretty okay game when he stepped in for Taysom Hill, who had a Lens Frank injury, from what I'm understanding. So Taysom Hill, I'm sorry, your last game of the season had to end like that. It's like Taysom Hill is going to have a very, very interesting future going forward for the Saints. He's on a 4-year extension now for $40 million. It can go up to $95 million if he plays as a sole quarterback, which I don't believe is going to happen. But we've seen injuries piling up for Taysom Hill since last year, from concussions to elbows to another concussion this year or earlier in the season to now a foot fracture. Like, Taysom Hill's body is starting to give out. You know, he's not getting any younger. Sean Payton's going to have to really assess and evaluate how he's going to want to use Taysom Hill going forward, because the level of physicality he plays with is no longer something that can be relied on, or something that can be considered sustainable. Taysom Hill is going to have to really do some soul searching as well, and what he wants to do, because I doubt it's going to be a full-time quarterback. All right, I don't have any confidence whatsoever in him being a full-time starter at the quarterback position at all, because I still want Jameis. But assuming he goes back into his gadget role, do you limit him on offense in terms of what he can do as a wide receiver or a flex tight end, or sometimes maybe you look him up on special teams? Because you have to look at these injuries that are mounting up for Taysom and think, I should probably use him more in spare, like sparingly use him, like in certain spots, because they are going at him and his body is starting to give out. I'm worried for Taysom. I'm worried for Taysom as a whole. If you guys don't remember, he suffered a pretty severe concussion against the Washington football team this year. That was way back in week 4. He missed several weeks with that concussion injury, and he couldn't even remember 45 minutes like after the hit was landed. 45 minutes, that's scary. Those have like lasting effects for arguably the rest of your lifetime. So hopefully Taysom Hill does some soul searching, or just has the type of offseason to where he can improve going forward, because he is a cornerstone piece. He is a major piece to this offensive production as a whole. With what he does, with his versatility, I just don't see him being an every down quarterback. It is what it is. Teron Armstead, I believe Teron Armstead is going to be let go. As much as I don't want it to happen, I think he's in the same boat as Traquan Smith, if not a little more so, because Traquan Smith, even though he was disappointing, Teron Armstead, he's a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle, probably the best left tackle the Saints have drafted in a while. And Teron Armstead just couldn't put it together. He has to have surgery this offseason. He suffered, but he tried to play through it for the sake of the team, and he just couldn't get back on the field after, I believe, going down. I don't know if it was a Dolphins game or a little before that, but either way, Teron Armstead's going to have a strong market. All right, he's going to have a strong market. That's a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle who can give you so much in terms of, athleticism and leadership on your offensive line. Teron Armstead's a guy you can rely on for the most part, right? He'll give you 12 games. He'll give you maybe 13 games. He's not going to give you a full season. There's no evidence that really says that he's going to make it through a full season. He couldn't get through 16 games, let alone 17. You know what I mean? So, but he still got a strong market because he's a really good left tackle when he's on the field. I think a team like the Rams could do with him. A team like the Giants, maybe, or even though they got Andrew Thomas, on a rookie deal at left tackle. But you never know. A veteran presence is never a bad thing. You got some other lines out there that I'm sorely needed. Probably the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're in a good position. They could rejoin Malcolm Brown over there in Jacksonville. Block for Trevor Lawrence. Like, he has his run-of-the-mill in terms of the market. He's going to have his options. And if that's the case, Teron Armstead, thank you very much for your years of service to the Black and Gold. We will be cheering for you. We will be praying for your success wherever you go, unless you're playing against our boys NOLA. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But, yeah, I just don't see the Saints bringing him back. I really don't. I think they're going to draft his replacement. Landon Young, I don't think he's the answer either. He only played one game and suffered a season-ending foot injury. That's just unfortunate. Now, what about the defense? Paulson Adebo had a bounce-back game that I expected him to have. That immaculate one-handed interception against Matt Ryan after he tried to pick on him all game, that was absolutely insane. Paulson Adebo had his best game of the season. He always came away with two INTs on a night. Another type of Moss moment. That was awesome. I love seeing Paulson Adebo out there. Paulson Adebo has played a full season with the Saints from start to finish. And with the emergence of Paulson Adebo, the corners, like the cornerback position, is locked up for the Saints going forward. Like, they have Marshawn Lattimore on a 5-year deal, and they got Paulson Adebo, who's now through with his first year. He's going to make the corrections and have an offseason where he can improve as the number 2 corner. It was crazy watching Paulson Adebo play this year. So there are some games where they picked on him, and I suspected he was a rookie. They're going to pick on a rookie and got to have situations. They're going to make rookie mistakes. It is what it is. But to play all those snaps and only come away with less than 10 penalties, you'll take that any day of the week. It just looks like it's bad because the Saints were and gotta have it games, and those penalties came on very, very crucial downs. But like I said, he's a rookie. Those are going to happen. I think Paulson Adebo is going to have a really great second year. He set himself up perfectly with all the tape he has on himself now. He can make the corrections that he needs to make. He has a more accurate understanding of the game now and what he needs to do. The cornerback position is locked up, and Malcolm Jenkins, in terms of safeties, right? Malcolm Jenkins is still on contract. I believe he's going to be back next season. I do believe that. And now it just comes down to the Williams duo, Marcus Williams and PJ Williams. Both are set to be unrestricted free agents in the offseason. And if I'm one of the two, I'm going for Marcus Williams. Now, I would love a situation where they can retain both of them, but the Saints are going to be over $60 million and $60 million over the cap for 2022. And I think PJ Williams is going to be something of a cap casualty, but he set himself up perfectly to have a fairly decent market. He turned a corner when Dennis Allen put him at the safety position. He played outstanding this year. I mean, absolutely outstanding. He should go into this offseason with his head held high, knowing that he's going to draw attention to himself. But Marcus Williams is a guy that has way too much range and way too much familiarity with this defense, with Marshawn Lattimore, with Paulson Adebo now, with Malcolm Jenkins. You had to retain Marcus Williams. You have to get him on his deal. He has earned himself the bag, right? So make Marcus Williams your priority. You have to make him your priority because, you just don't know. Like, you just don't know. I would rather keep Marcus Williams if it means letting PJ Williams go. You can always address PJ Williams' replacement in the offseason, like with a veteran or something. But I would want Marcus Williams if it had to come down to those two. Now, the linebacker position. The linebacker position, my favorite position, Quan Alexander. What does this mean for the Saints and Quan Alexander? Quan Alexander only missed 5 games this year. Only 5. Actually 6. One due to COVID. He only missed 6 games this year, played in 11, and he finished the season out strong. If the Saints have an opportunity to re-sign Quan on another deal, then I would do that if I'm New Orleans. Now, make no mistake, Pete Werner played a really good year. Pro Football Focus ranked him as a top 10 linebacker, ranked number 6. I think this performance might put him a little closer to 5, but he was still rated a top 10 linebacker by Pro Football Focus. That's just one metric. Take that for what you will. But he graded out really, really well. Pete Werner is a guy that can rotate in with Quan Alexander on certain downs or certain instances. He's a really good run stuffer, and he's improving day to day, week by week, in terms of the passing game. I would love to see what Pete Werner and Quan Alexander can do together next year alongside Demario Davis, who has had a little something of a down year this year. I don't know if it was noticeable to you guys, but Demario Davis, by his standards, it kind of egressed a little bit. His peak game was against the Seattle Seahawks, and it's to be expected. I think he's the oldest middle linebacker in the NFL today. I think the next oldest would be Darius Leonard. But either way, Demario Davis had something of a down year, and I believe, now I make a mistake, I believe he's going to have a bounce back year next year. He's still on a 3-year deal, now down to 2 years. But Demario Davis is getting up there in age, so we'll just have to see what happens. I would want Quan back alongside Pete Werner. If it ever comes a time where Demario Davis has to hang up the cleats, I would feel pretty confident that Pete Werner can hold down the fort at middle linebacker. Like, for real. All he has to do is just bulk up just a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. Just bulk up a little bit so he can hold that weight and get off blocks a little better. And then he'll be a picture-perfect middle linebacker replacement in the future, potentially, for Demario Davis. Now, hitting on Pete Werner means the Saints have finally snapped their drought of drafting linebackers. Like, they finally snapped it from Stephon Anthony, the most notable bust, to Zach Bond of 2020. Yeah, I mean, it's not Zach Bond's fault. He's more of an edge rusher than a traditional weak side linebacker or an inside linebacker. But they did not do well with Zach Bond. But Pete Werner is a guy that, he set himself up good for next year. I think he's going to have an even better season 2 than season 1. And that's saying something to his athleticism, to his instincts, and his ability to always be where the football is. Now, the defensive line, that's where it gets interesting. Marcus Davenport finished the season, I believe, with 8.5 sacks, if not 9.5. A solid 8.5. That's his career high. He showed, unlike Traquan Smith, that he is a game wrecker, a game changer when he's out on the field. Davenport finished the season off strong with a forced fumble. I believe he now has 3 on the year, which is now a new season high for him. That is something I am very, very proud of with Marcus Davenport. Now, all he needs to do is put it all together and finish out an entire season of football. Like, that's it. That's it. That's all. That's it. That's all. What about the interior? What does that mean for the interior? That means the Saints going to have to draft a really good like interior defensive lineman because you can't keep relying on undrafted prospects when you're trying to get a pass rush. You can't just rely on David Onyemata because as we saw with David Onyemata when he got suspended for 6 games, that interior is nothing without David Onyemata anchoring the center. Absolutely nothing. Not Malcolm Roach, not Shai Tuttle, not Albert Huggins, not Christian Ringo. All those guys are run stuffers and run stuffers only. You need legit pass rush pressure in the interior alongside David Onyemata. And I believe they need to address this in the draft this year. They absolutely need to address it and they need to hit on it. How that happens, I don't know. How that happens, I have no idea, but they need to make that one of their top priorities. So here's what I'm looking at so far for the Saints. They need to re-sign Marcus Williams. That's their absolute priority. Re-sign Marcus Williams. Draft an interior defensive lineman. Re-sign Quan if you can. Draft a new number 2 receiver and let Traquan Smith go. Re-sign Jameis Winston. Right? You got to re-sign Jameis because Ian Book's not going to be ready for next year. I do not believe he will be. Let's see. If I was to pick another one, I think a luxury priority, or I wouldn't say priority, it's a luxury. A luxury option would be to re-sign PJ Williams. That would be more of a luxury. Those would be my moves in the offseason. On top of just, getting under 60 million. Getting under 60 million, that would be a thing. Now, overall, that Rams game, they're one and done. That Rams 49ers game, the Rams started out hot, 17-3 going into the half. They choked away a 2-touchdown lead because for whatever reason, that secondary outside of Jalen Ramsey is absolutely god trash. If the pass rush isn't getting home, that back half is being had. Even Jalen Ramsey had something of a down game. That, with the exception of that red zone interception, Jalen Ramsey didn't have the best game. And that says a lot when your star player is not playing at the top at an elite level to the point where he can't compensate for everyone else's like poor play. And Sean McVay having a terrible day just play calling in the second half to the offensive line for the Rams being absolutely bullied by the San Francisco defensive line led by Nick Bosa, as of course, Ohio State Buckeyes. This is what happens when the Saints don't take care of business, right? Let's just call it for what it is. The Saints, they put themselves in this position. They should have won against the New York Giants when they had the chance to, and they wouldn't be in this position. If they had just won against the New York Giants, then all the Saints needed to do was all the Saints would need was just to beat Atlanta and they'd be in the playoffs. They would be in a winning situation if they won against New York or if they beat the Atlanta Falcons. If they did either one of those two things, we wouldn't be in a situation. But, of course, it always comes down whenever the Saints need help getting in, they don't get that help. So, lesson learned, never rely or never get your hopes up for any other team helping you get into the playoffs. Because it's the Saints. It's just the Saints. It is what it is. I'm still happy with this team. I am. Let's just call it for what it is, y'all. I'm very happy with this team. All the stuff they went through, and they still finished with a record above 500. You can't ask for anything better. Some people had them at 6-11 or 5-12. Like stuff like that. Yeah. Not to mention the piss poor receivers or supporting cast of pass catchers. Speaking of piss poor, who would y'all say would be the most disappointing player for y'all this year? Who would be the most disappointing player? I can name a few. Tano Passanio. He started off the season strong, but suffered a season-ending injury that we didn't even know about. Tano Passanio, Peyton Turner. I know he's a rookie. I know that he's a rookie, but to not hear anything on his injury, it's not good for whatever reason. So the two defensive ends, Tano Passanio and Peyton Turner, to Traquan Smith. Adam Troutman had a down year. Adam Troutman, for whatever reason, he found his hands a little too late in the second year. If I had to make another one, Cesar Ruiz was absolute dog shit. Cesar Ruiz needs to be better. If he's going to be a part of this offensive line, he needs to absolutely do better. For whatever reason, he just couldn't do that. It is what it is, but either get better or get off this team. Get better or get off this team. Your choice. Your choice, Caesar. Your choice, Caesar. So, the two defensive ends, Traquan Smith, Cesar Ruiz, Adam Troutman, Zach Bond. Let's just throw the whole 2020 class in there. Let's just go ahead and throw in the entire 2020 class because why not? Because why not, right? I would say, let's see. If I had to make another choice, actually, I think that's it. I just realized that for whatever reason, my headphones are told to being muted. Can you guys still hear me? Can you guys still hear me? Let me know. It keeps saying it's muted. Let me know if y'all can hear me, because I'm being told that my computer is telling me that I'm muted. Yeah, I'm being muted. Wow. Am I muted, guys? Hello? There we go. All right. I apologize for that. Yep, there we go. Okay. So at the end of the day, the New Orleans Saints have a lot to do, right? They have a lot to do, but next year is going to be very, very excited. Very, very exciting, I would say, excuse me. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Very much looking forward to seeing what they do. Come back tomorrow for final thoughts, because I will be going in depth and I will be allowing callers. I will allow callers going forward tomorrow. So get your thoughts in there, because that'll be the last live stream I do for the foreseeable future. And keep up to date on all things Saints news on your boy B&G Breakdown Podcast on my community tab, my Facebook page, my Twitter, and my Instagram. I'll see you guys tomorrow for final thoughts on Saints and Falcons, 49ers and Rams, and off-season moves. They're dead and cold. I'll check you.